All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a truly fascinating story lined up for you today about international tech projects and, the hidden realities of making them actually work in the real world. We're looking at this amazing first-hand account of bringing a highly complex, supposedly 100% finished tech system built all the way over in London right into Japan. But, and here's the massive paradox we're going to explore today. Bringing over a system that was theoretically fully complete, well, it actually meant the real grueling work was literally just beginning. It's this incredible story about language, culture, and what it actually takes to make digital transformation a success.
Wow. The deeper I went underground, the more interesting the work became. I mean, what a fantastic hook, right? Just picture this for a second. You are the lead on the Japanese side of this massive global IT project, and instead of sitting up in some sleek corner office with a view of the city, you find yourself trudging down into the dim, windowless basement of the client's building every single day. I mean, it sounds almost like a punishment, but honestly, with this strange yet totally exciting feeling, the author realized that this underground room was where the absolute magic was happening. So let's look at why they had to go down there in the first place. Section 1. The unfinished finished system.
So the core problem of our story is that this application had already been completely built over in the UK, right? This wasn't your typical tech project where you have developers coding a brand new platform from scratch, laying the foundation block by block. The building, so to speak, was already fully built. But as anyone who's ever worked in global IT or business knows all too well, dropping an existing foreign system into a brand new market like Japan, yeah, that is a completely different story. Finished in London absolutely does not mean ready for Japan, not by a shot. Even though the core app was done, the Japanese side had to assemble this massive infrastructure team. Why? Well, because you literally can't just plug a London-built system into a Japanese corporate network without some serious heavy lifting. There's just a ton of extensive local development work required, specifically creating changes to the interfaces so the new system can actually talk to the surrounding legacy systems that were already being used in Japan. It's kind of like buying a state-of-the-art British appliance and then realizing, oh wait, I need to wire an entirely new electrical grid in my house just to turn the thing on.
Section 2. Lost in translation.
Okay, so amidst all this infrastructure chaos, our system lead had this incredibly unique role. They had to translate literal mountains of English system documents from the London team for the entire Japanese team. But they almost immediately slammed into a massive roadblock. What is this function actually for? Because it turns out, a simple, literal English to Japanese translation of these tech manuals was completely useless. Think about it. You can translate the word button or, execute script perfectly into Japanese. But if the engineers reading that document don't understand why that button exists in the first place, the translation just completely fails. The literal words on the page just weren't enough to convey the actual utility of the software.
Taking that problem a step further, the lead had to constantly ask themselves, okay, what does this process mean from a business perspective? And this was the intense internal struggle they faced every single day in that basement. Because look, software is never just software, right? It's a digital representation of a business strategy. The London team built the system to solve specific business problems in a very specific British way. If you don't grasp the underlying business logic hidden behind those technical functions, you absolutely cannot properly implement it. Translating the tech was essentially forcing our lead to decipher the entirely foreign business culture that was just embedded deep in the code. And then came the ultimate puzzle. How does this connect with the systems on the Japanese side? Battling through these relentless questions day in and day out gradually forced the system lead into a much deeper, far more holistic understanding of the entire operation. They really weren't just a translator anymore, they were actively becoming the central brain of the entire integration. They literally had to trace the logic from a single line of English text back to a British business concept and then forward into how a local Japanese legacy system would actually interpret it.
So an absolutely crucial point here is the physical reality of how this project was set up. Just picture this building structure. Upstairs, right, on the brightly lit upper floors, you had the people responsible for the client's actual day-to-day business operations. But downstairs, completely out of sight in that underground basement, you had the project team grinding away, trying to build the system strategy and handle the integration. It was quite an unusual arrangement when you think about it. The core business is happening up in the sky, while the mechanics of the company's entire digital future are being hammered out down in the dark.
Section 3. The Basement War Room.
Because our system lead had to constantly translate these heavy documents and get super deep explanations about how everything worked, that basement naturally transformed into a literal war room.
It was the underground hub where the real, intensive work of studying the English system, relentlessly asking questions, and transforming all that technical jargon into understandable concepts actually happened. But no one wins a war alone. The author was incredibly lucky to have two key allies down there, who they playfully called the two superstars. First up, a Japanese professional who was completely fluent in English and had this shockingly deep understanding of both the technical system and the business side. I mean, that is a true rarity. And second, a British colleague with that exact same level of dual expertise who was also actively studying Japanese. Together, these two superstars totally anchored the project. With their incredible support and patience, the seriously daunting task of deciphering this massive system started to steadily move forward.
And it really goes to show great connections drive successful projects. The system lead could never have survived the basement without the support, the knowledge, and the connection of those two superstars. And you know what? It's the exact same for this channel. We absolutely rely on great connections with focused learners just like you. So if you're enjoying this deep dive, please take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and like this explainer. It really ensures we can keep bringing you these highly structured deep dives. All right, let's get back to the basement.
Section 4. Beyond mere translation.
Now, normally, trudging down to a windowless basement room every single day does not sound particularly exciting, but for our system lead, it became a genuine thrill. The daily descent wasn't just a trip into a dark, dreary room. It was an entry into a place of constant daily discovery. Every time they sat and listened to the English documentation and talked things through with those two superstars, they were quite literally discovering the world behind the system. They were peeling back the layers and gaining this profound understanding of the differences in how business and projects are approached in Japan versus the UK. It was like an intense, real-time cultural exchange program that was just cleverly disguised as an IT integration. They weren't just moving data around, they were learning how two completely different parts of the world think about problem solving.
Section 5. The Bridge to DX.
The ultimate lesson they learned in that basement was that true system integration, especially on a global scale like this, is about far, far more than just migrating code or translating languages from some instruction manual. To make a foreign system actually work, you absolutely have to follow this exact sequence. 1, you must understand the technology. 2, you must understand the underlying business. And 3, you must transform that combined knowledge into human language that the local team can actually understand and use. It's a very deliberate 3-step process. If you skip the business context, the tech has zero purpose. If you skip the human language part, the users are just going to reject it. You have to have all 3.
Looking back on the whole experience, the author realized what digital transformation, or DX, actually means at its core. It's not just about buying fancy new software. DX is the ability to stand right between cold, hard technology and actual human beings and build a sturdy, reliable bridge between them. That basement war room wasn't just some cramped IT office. It was the exact place where that bridge was being built, connecting a British system directly with the Japanese people who needed it.
Which brings us to a final thought to consider in our own work. Take a look at your own projects, your own basements, if you will. Are you just translating systems? Are you just moving data and words from point A to point B? Or are you actively building the bridge between technology and people? Take a moment to really reflect on that. Because as we've seen today, the real magic happens when you stop just translating and start connecting. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.